Since Loki first appeared in Elbaf, everybody in the communities wondered where he'll be at by the end of Elbaf. Whether it's been him being the main antagonist all the way to him being a Straw Hat by the end of the arc, everybody has been trying to scramble together what could happen. But I'm here to say that today, you will have the answer of that question by the end of the video. So, strap in, because I'm about to get real in depth with this video. But before I do jump into the video, if you guys don't enjoy content like this, you know what to do. Hit that like button and subscribe, as I do post content like this regularly, and to be honest, it's a win-win. You guys show me love and support, and I give it back to you in the form of videos. Whether it's One Piece, other anime, or just fiction in general, in due time I plan on covering it, so be there when I go there. But I feel like I've rambled on long enough, so I'll jump straight into the video and uncover where Loki will be at by the end of Elbaf. Now at this point, we all know that Loki being an antagonist for Elbaf is kind of a far-fetched idea. From what we can see inside the flashback, it seems to be that he has been mischaracterized for the most part. What we can see is that his mother did not love him, so essentially, because of that mother not loving him, he then felt the need to terrorize people, and because of that, and obviously her telling people that he has a curse and he's cursed this whole entire island, or just country or nation in general, that has caused everybody to turn on him since birth. Now, what we do know is that Loki deep down isn't really a bad person, but then on top of that, he has found his salvation in somebody like Rox. Another thing we do know is that he does call himself the Sun God and does say that he will bring Ragnarok. Now, as I did say, I don't believe he will actually be an antagonist inside this arc, as I don't think he will actually bring around Ragnarok. So that leaves us to then think, what could Loki's purpose be now? And so instead of Loki staying on Elbaf, I think we all know that he is going to leave the island at this point. But leaving the island means that he has to join somebody. I doubt Loki is just going to leave the island by himself. So, who would he join? Now, I do know a few people do want to throw Kid in there, as some people do believe that Kid could be somewhere, and I mean, okay, but he doesn't have a ship. Now, he could get an Elbaf ship, and that would actually be perfect for Loki. But personally, I don't think Kid can be in this equation. So I want to cross him out. Now, we have three real potential candidates that I do want to list out. And these three candidates is Cross Guild, the Straw Hat Pirates, and finally, the Blackbeard Pirates. Now, I know two of them will make sense to a lot of people, but one of them may come out of left field. Now, the reason I do believe that Cross Guild is a potential place for him is mainly due to Cross Guild being set up the way it's set up. Rox was known for killing an admiral, and what do Cross Guild do? They hunt down marines. Now, the main reason I do believe that Loki can be considered for Cross Guild is because he will like to go in the footsteps of Rox and can obviously pitch an idea to Buggy that Buggy will like. And on top of it, there is a very popular theory in the community that even I believe that Buggy and Rox are far closer connected than we believe. So, what do I believe? Well, I believe that Loki does have a possibility of joining Cross Guild. Now, how he will even get off the islands and then join Cross Guild is something I'm going to discuss later, but just know that Cross Guild is definitely an answer for him. Plus, Loki does give them that wildcard energy, and Loki does actually fit their power system. Loki would be a great addition, somebody that is stronger than Crocodile, around that level of Mihawk, and so that would allow Buggy to then do a lot more things. But let's move into the Straw Hats. Now, the Straw Hats seem like kind of the safest option, as they are on the island. Luffy has already asked them, and although they know they don't have enough space for him, the Sunny can always be improved. So, what's next? Well, I mean, Loki's fit on the Straw Hats is decent. Gives Luffy a lot, and I mean a lot, of extra firepower. And you can say it does make sense, since by the end of the arc, we do expect the Giants to be buddy-buddy with Loki, as he's going to explain everything. So, could he actually join the crew? Well, I think it's up in the air. In the beginning, I did think that Luffy was going to liberate him, but now, after seeing more of his flashback, I don't know if that is the case. I don't know if Loki is somebody that necessarily needs to be saved in that regard. I do believe that Luffy may do something intentionally, or not intentionally, but unintentionally, and something could happen, but truly the Straw Hats are an option here. But one thing that I do struggle to see, two things, is how his power dynamic will work inside of the crew, and number two, the Sunny expanding. Now, these two things are technically a major issue, and another thing that you can say is that he could just join the Straw Hat Alliance. That is something that is pitched a lot for people that want to be added to it, and it would make sense, as him joining up with the Giants in the End Saga would make way more sense than him just going around with the crew, as the ship is, well, the best way for me to explain it is that Loki is a big boy. If he decides to step on the ship, it may just fall apart. So those three things are things that we're going to obviously take into consideration, but I do believe that Loki does have a chance of joining the Straw Hat Pirates. But finally, we have the Blackbeard Pirates, and the Blackbeard Pirates are a perfect fit for Loki when you actually sit down and think about it. When you think about it, Blackbeard and Loki take after basically the exact same person. Loki got his salvation from rocks, and Blackbeard, well, that's his kid, and he has the exact same ideals and has the exact same goals, and the goal is what is so key here. Blackbeard wants to go after the world, and Loki wants to go after the world. Now, the main thing we would actually have to discuss is how Blackbeard even gets onto Elbaf, and if he gets to Elbaf, why would he even ask Loki to join? Now, this is something that I have actually been thinking about. And I do believe that Blackbeard is always somewhere where you didn't expect him to be, which is why I do believe that it makes even more sense for him to be here. I think with all the days passing outside of the outside world, and obviously we know that Elbaf does technically have time go slower there, you could then say that Blackbeard has enough time to get to Elbaf, and by the time everything is done, he could arrive and try to do something. But the exact same moment, Loki can then see him, notice that there is an uncanny resemblance to rocks, and then talk to him. It does make sense, and I think as I start to explain it to you guys, you'll start to see why that may occur. Now, the reason I think this is perfect is because Harold and Rocks clearly had something there, and what the story is trying to portray, to me at least, and I think what Oda's trying to portray to you guys, is that the main reason Rocks may have failed is because he didn't have Harold by his side. Imagine if Rocks and Harold were together. Truly, I do believe that they would have been unstoppable. Garp and Roger wouldn't have been able to jump him, so Harold would have been there to help him out, meaning that Rocks may have actually gotten out of God Valley. That means that he would have then accomplished his dream and his goal from then on. He would have actually been unstoppable with Harold. That is why I do believe that Loki then joining Blackbeard would then allow Blackbeard to then take that step further, then even making himself more solidified as a true candidate of the final villain. That is something that I think Oda is going to try head down, and that is why I think that those two crossing paths is inevitable. And this is why I truly do believe that even by the end of Elbaf, the whole thing of Loki being a massive liar and whatnot will actually ring true. Throughout the arc, we're actually going to probably see that he isn't that much of a liar, and he may actually be a genuine person until Blackbeard arrives. And then go think about it. If Blackbeard arrives, that is actually the ultimate betrayal towards Luffy. And that is why I do believe that it should ring home, and that's where it's actually going to click. This will then also make sense as to why Blackbeard and Shanks may actually have their run-in. Loki's out and about, somebody that Shanks had to put down, and Shanks knows that if those two actually link up, it may be over. That then forces their sort of interaction, and that is where you can then see Shanks versus Blackbeard. I feel like Loki joining the Blackbeard Pirates does actually link a lot of things in, and would then make sense for Loki's character. Loki so far has seemed like somebody that has been redeemed slowly, but I feel like what Oda is then trying to portray to us is that maybe Loki still wants to do what he wants to do as a child. I mean, once you get your salvation, there isn't really many things that can change about you unless you do get liberated. And that is why I didn't want to bring in the Straw Hats once again. Well, I did say that it's possible, very possible, that Loki could then backstab the Straw Hats once everything is said and done inside of Elbaf. But with Luffy being there, his possible liberation and him actually finding out that he isn't Nika can ring true. These are two things that can happen, and these things are very possible. But in my eyes, I just believe that Loki joining up with Blackbeard is way more likely, 10 times more likely than him joining the Straw Hats. And the funny thing is that because Blackbeard ships are so unique and different, you can actually make a real case that Blackbeard can just construct a ship for Loki way easier than Luffy can for Loki. Also, the dynamics inside the crew would work way better. Loki seems like somebody that would thrive more in a crew that is unruly than a crew like the Straw Hats that do have not order, but they have a sense of moral code about them. Loki is somebody that I could see fitting on the Rock's pirates, and I do believe that even though I would say that the Blackbeard pirates isn't actually constructed like the Rock's pirates, I'll say the Rock's pirates is more constructed like Cross Guild, but I would say that the Blackbeard pirates unruliness does fit in way more with Loki's character, allowing him to then accentuate himself even more. The power dynamics on the crew would actually be very interesting as well, as that second spot is extremely strong. You either have Kuzan or you have Loki. That's something that Blackbeard needs, and if he's going to obviously be tackling with these top tiers, those two being his backup men are two things that once you then have that in place, nobody can test Blackbeard. A crew of just Blackbeard, Kuzan and Loki is enough to throw the One Piece world on its head. That is why I truly do believe that when he does join, there will be no contest on who is the strongest crew on the sea. That would then force Luffy to then get stronger, as I said, Shanks will then have to get involved. Wherever Loki does, Shanks then has to move, because especially if he joins the Blackbeard pirates, Shanks will know where it's going to happen. And that's truly why I do believe that Shanks and everybody else is very wary of Blackbeard, because one wrong move and he's at the top. I feel like as the flashback has gone on, it's basically trying to spell out to us that Blackbeard is somebody that we do need to be wary of. Here is Rox, and Rox is strong. Rox is somebody that you need to be wary of, yes, but his son is somebody that you do need to look out for. Blackbeard, once he makes that move, is going to shock everybody, and that is why I do believe that Loki then joining him will then add on to that. Now, aside from the strength dynamic, if we look at just the personality dynamic, as I've said before, the unruly side of the Blackbeard pirates would suit him a lot more, and I do want to explore Cross Guild a little bit, as I do believe him being unruly would then boost Buggy a little bit, and if Buggy truly is the son of Rox, that will then obviously have him joining that crew give it way more validity. But I do believe that Loki being way stronger than Buggy and Buggy being a weakling will then obviously annoy Loki a little bit. This is where Mihawk and Crocodile can obviously say something, but then just how their crew is constructed could then intrigue Loki. Loki could possibly then give them ideas that can go boost their crew's strength, like Davy backfires. Maybe Loki heard about Davy backfires from when he was hearing Rox talk to his father, or when Rox was just passing by. He could then say to them, let's do Davy backfires. Or he can then say, you know what, where did you guys get half of your crew? Because I know you didn't just find them, so where did you get them? They're gonna say Impel Down. So guess what? They go to Impel Down, and I've been saying it for years now, but Doflamingo truly joining up with them would make a lot of sense. And having Loki be the one to break in there, that would be perfect. Truly, Loki joining any of these crews would boost their strength dramatically, but what we do need to look past it is how his dynamic works. If Loki's dynamic works a lot better with one crew, I do see him going onto that crew. That is why I do believe that even though if you'd have told me a week ago, oh, Loki doesn't join the Straw Hats, I'd have been like, so where would he go? I do believe that now, after truly seeing where his salvation lies, maybe it just isn't with the Straw Hats. Maybe instead it's with the Blackbeard Pirates or Cross Guild. As I've said, in my opinion, I do believe that it's the Blackbeard Pirates, and so with him joining there, a lot of things can unfold. I do believe that this does kick off a lot of events inside the series, and this is where you then get to obviously see many things play out, as I've said before. It's clear by the end of Elbaf that Loki is going to stamp himself down as either being a good person or somebody that is very unruly and does actually meet all of the things that are said about him. Imagine if he then turns into some sort of diplomat like his father. I don't believe that will occur because his whole character so far has been against it, but due to Luffy's liberation, that could happen. But I do believe that Hadroden will take that spot. Even if Hadroden is not even close to even being a lick of how strong his father is, I do believe that taking that diplomatic spot, you don't really necessarily need the strength. What you need is that heart and soul, and I do believe that Hadroden does have it. But Loki, he has many roads, and I do believe as the chapters do go by, we can see him take many different paths. But I do believe that in the end, the Blackbeard Pirates does seem like the right home for him, and on that crew, he can truly go after his goal and what his salvation is. Loki can go after the world and try to get it with Blackbeard. Whether they succeed or not, well, time will tell. But I do know that if he does, or when he does join the Blackbeard Pirates, it will be mayhem, and they will cause chaos inside the One Piece world. And so yeah, that is the end of the video. Now, before I do actually fully close this out, so I may have gotten struck by Shueisha, right? And that means that no more chapter reviews will be coming, but don't worry, videos surrounding the topic of the chapter will drop. I'll make sure to at least pump out 2 or 3 each week, going over 3 main points of the chapter, if the chapter's that juicy. Maybe 1 if it's not that juicy. But yeah, I shall see you guys in the next video. The next video will be when I left field. I think you guys will enjoy it though. You guys will obviously see it before I drop it. I'll post it on the community tab. But yeah, so see you guys in the next video. I love you all. Thank you for the support. So yeah, good bye.